What is going on, little mamas, boys and girls? Another collective W. Another. And I played the intro again. That's how cool we are. Because my
That's how
dumbass
W it
elbow
was.
hit the fucking space bar. Oh man, what's going on? I wonder if Cruz is on a date, and I know Cruz is gonna say they're not. Probably they're gonna be working, but I think we should give the audience a chance to guess if Cruz is in fact on a date. We got Czar Rasputin here giving us hearts. Where have you been, brother? I have not been seeing you around. There you
I
are.
know.
My goodness gracious, all the lovelies are here. So, a few things, matter of fact, of business before we continue. You've been slaving away. I totally understand that. So, Collective has started a Patreon. Please, if you can, donate a whole whopping $2 a month to us. You get the exclusive offers. They're right now on the Patreon page. The link is in the description. We also have Collective Gaming, which is just something fun that we decided to start doing because the world is hell and everything is falling apart, and it would be nice for us to relax and play some Hello Kitty Island Adventure or some Roblox. I feel like there was a third thing I wanted to plug, but now, oh, right, Collective Live. So if you're looking for any of the old episodes or you watch an episode, you come back, you want to see it on Collective TV, it's not there anymore. It's because things are being moved to our second channel, Collective Live, and clips are being put onto the regular Collective TV.
Yeah.
So I think that is about all the plugs I wanted to do. So what do you think, Lumpy? What do you think Cruz is doing right now?
I think. Well, I know what Chris is doing right now. So
So you can't even play the game?
I can't play the game.
That's so goofy.
I just
All right.
can't play the game because I know.
Mhm. Well, anyway, we'll get started. So I wanted to talk about today. We wanted to talk about today the Musk family tree, the Elon family tree, and the reason why we want to talk about that is because all through mainstream and liberal media, everything is Elon Musk and everything is Trump. Obviously, last month, Donald Trump took the presidency again, has caused quite a bit of commotion, as we can put it that way politely. The United States is essentially speed running to capital F fascism. And it's all from the guy from The Apprentice. Well, it's not just from the guy from The Apprentice. It's capitalism. This is the contradictions that we knew were going to happen. But Elon Musk is always there, quite literally in the background. We just saw him yesterday or 2 days ago posing in the Oval Office like this, looking like an anime character. And he was taking questions from the White House press briefings people, but Donald Trump wasn't saying anything. And I feel like not enough people know who Elon Musk is besides the Tesla guy. So I thought that would be, something interesting that we could cover today.
Yeah. Well, it could be that Trump wasn't saying anything because he was told to shut his mouth
Mm-hmm.
by a
Yeah,
3-year-old. So
yeah, Elon Musk's own child. Is that the same kid with like the crazy name with like
that's X. Yeah.
45X? Oh my goodness gracious.
They just call him X, but yeah,
That's
he's
terrible.
like, isn't that like Grimes thinks he's like some kind of Dune character? Like
Yeah,
some,
nah,
it's all just, this kid is like, Elon could care less about any of his other kids too. It's just so weird. I
yeah,
don't know.
absolutely. Yeah, I don't understand it. But anyway, yeah, so wanted to get into like who Elon Musk is, and we all have our different parts that we want to talk about. So Elon Musk, probably the first time I ever heard of him or saw him, this is going to be funny, was in the Iron Man 2 movie. I don't know if you ever saw
Yeah,
that,
I
but
saw it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a very brief scene where Tony Stark he's in Italy for some car, NASCAR race, street race thing or whatever, and he goes he's in like where people are having dinner or whatever, and Musk comes right up to him and is like, "Hi, Tony," and then they shake hands, and that's the whole scene.
Yeah.
Which like Elon 100% paid for to put himself in the movie.
Yeah.
And now, just like Donald Trump, somebody who was in some kind of media from the past is effectively driving the country and the world towards
Yeah.
ever
I mean,
more.
Elon thinks he's Tony Stark. Like
Yeah, yeah.
he really thinks that.
Hmm. But instead of getting a suit and saving a bunch of brown people like Tony Musk, what the hell? There. Um,
No.
Elon Musk would just use it to terrorize brown people.
Yeah.
Um, so that's unfortunate. When was the first time you heard of Elon Musk?
I'm gonna say, I knew who he was before that movie, but that's probably like, I mean, pretty much around the same time. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, I'm thinking I might have heard his name in like with the PayPal stuff or anything like that because I was kind of paying attention to the .com crap for a little bit, but I didn't know I didn't know who he was before
Yeah.
really that, and then like hit the Tesla, yeah, like Tesla coming out and all that. That's when I really got to know him.
Right. Yeah, he's just been like this ever-present guy who spent billions of dollars on projects that don't work, like SpaceX. Um, I know that he basically his claim to
Cutespace.
fame in a lot of ways is that what Elon Musk does with his fortune, which he mostly acquired from his family, we'll get into that. With his fortune, he buys companies like PayPal, like
Mhm,
Tesla, and part of the stipulation for him to own those companies is that it's in writing that he is now a founder of the company as
mhm,
opposed to just the guy
yeah,
who acquired it. So don't get it twisted that Elon Musk doesn't own, didn't find SpaceX, didn't find Tesla, didn't find PayPal. He just bought his way into it. Which really is just like the definition of capitalism. There
yeah,
is no individual work. There was no bootstrapping. It was just this guy with a bunch of money.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, like, yeah, like the Zip 2 is probably the only thing, like, and that probably came from his brother, really. Like, his brother probably
mhm,
came up with the concept because yeah, I don't know.
yep, exactly. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, so I wanted to get into it because I came out. Nico's at work, but you're gonna let it stream. Thanks, Nico, for being such a comrade. Shout out,
I
Nico.
know.
Everybody clap for Nico.
This is what
Um,
everyone should do.
just share it with
Even if
everybody.
you're at
Share it with
work.
your friends. Share it with your enemies. That's totally fine with me. So I came up with this. Oh, there they are, the one and only,
It's
dressed in red,
true.
Hello.
because they're a comrade and a communist. Or I'm wow, comrade and a communist. What's wrong with me? I said,
Comrade, communist, and certified lover boy.
see,
And
that's what I was trying to get at. I
Cutie's
was
here
trying to
with
say,
us too
Oh, good.
mhm.
As
for
long as Cutie's
Valentine's
here,
Day. I
then
figured
I'm
that Cutie should be
I'm
here.
a happy lad if Comrade Cutie Pie is
How
here.
was your Valentine's Day?
I got caught by the drawbridge on the way here.
Oh.
I was like, well, I'm gonna be late, everybody.
Damn.
We were playing a game though,
Oh
whether
yeah?
you were actually on a date or if you were at work.
Yeah, no fucking date. Who do you think I am? If I was
you're.
no, here's the thing. If I was on a date, I would have been like, hey, I ain't coming. I'm on a date.
I was gonna say something else, but
I knew you were, and I was
you
waiting
know
for
what
you.
I
I was
mean.
waiting for you, and I was like, I'll give.
I know
we
you
are
gave
Isaac.
past the 5 minute timer, so we could definitely say it now. But we'll just let the audience figure that one out. Goodness
Take a
gracious.
guess what I was about to say. But
So yeah, I was just giving the intro spiel as usual, Christy boy. I was saying that, you know, we're talking about Elon Musk and their family origins, who they are, what they've been doing. And I was saying how one, basically Elon, this is no preface to say that he's like a good person, don't get me wrong, but Elon essentially had no chance to not be a white supremacist.
Yeah.
When I talk about his family, and I was talking about the first time I knew who Elon was, and that was in the Iron Man 2 movie when Elon Musk walks right up to Tony Stark, as pointy, what the hell, as Lumby pointed out. Elon Musk thinks that he's Tony Stark, and definitely paid for his way to be
I
in
was
that
gonna say, I
movie.
was
Just
pretty
like,
sure you paid to be there.
yeah, well, that's what Elon does. He pays for for his audience,
Practice,
for his business. He paid his way into SpaceX, into Tesla, into PayPal, and part of his process when he does that is to basically enshrine in writing that he is a founder of these companies when he's not. There you go, setting the mood lighting. We should have gotten some like sexy saxophone music or something for you doing that.
I got the Rock Band guitar.
All right, why don't you shred for us? Yeah.
That was
the view count is going crazy since you did that.
That was Freebird by Rush.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Goofballs.
How many people can be pissed off?
So I wanted to get into this very rudimentary chart that I made, just so y'all can see it. So I got big baby boy Elon Musk in the middle, and then I got his immediate family, right? So we're gonna start here over on the left side. So over on the left side, we have Elon on his father's side, grandmother or grandfather, Cora Amelia Robinson, and grandfather Walter James Musk. And I unfortunately have to report that both of them are from England. F in the chat.
Damn.
This is the worst thing that they could have done. Moving on. Go ahead. Oh, you said damn or
damn?
Yeah, I mean no, because like that's exactly what it is. Because like who has anyone in history been good from England? Like, be real. Exactly, nobody. So
let me think for a second.
Yeah,
Marx was good in England, but not from England.
So I just have some really rudimentary notes I have here for Elon's father. So Elon's father was this guy named, I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm going to say Earl, but that makes me think of Earl the dinosaur.
It's Errol.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Errol Musk was a mine owner and businessman. Now, what kind of mine that was well, you know what? Let me back it up. I got to back up way farther than this. So Elon's bloodline all converged from different places, mainly Canada and England, and they all moved to South Africa from like 1940 to like 1980 was a lot of this, stuff was taking place. So what was going on in South Africa? So South Africa was colonized by the British, just like that's what the British people do. So, I moved the chart. So, the grandparents from England, the colonizers, we know this. They go to South Africa because what was happening? South Africa was going through what is called an apartheid. You've heard us use the phrase apartheid, referring to what Israel is doing to Gaza. The apartheid government, the Afrikaans government, essentially was having a dominant form of government where, just like in the States in many ways, but way worse, the white people, landowners, farmers, owned and controlled everything. And the indigenous population, the indigenous black population of South Africa, was subjugated by the white minority. There were, a levy of human rights abuses, but not only that, just no political representation, no real ability to vote or really direct your life at all. Your life, if you were a black person, if you were an Indian, because there was a lot of Indian people imported by the British to work and slave away for the white landowners, the farmers as they call them. We'll get to that in a second. And basically, there was just a class of people, a caste system where anybody of color was essentially less than a citizen, in many instances less than a person. And this eventually culminated into out and out rebellions, out and out I would say out and out civil war. Some people don't classify it like that because at that point we were sort of seeing wars sort of move in the situation like they did in the Troubles. And basically we had decades long struggle of people fighting for their rights. So that's where the Elons converge, right? So Elon Musk's father was the owner of a mine. Now, again, what are we talking here? We're not talking about like a an OSHA standard situation where miners are making sure people are making sure that the workers are getting their scheduled breaks and getting paid on time. We're essentially talking about slaves here, and that's what Elon's dad was involved with. Elon said was also a representative of a small township called Sunnyside in South Africa, and he was a representative of what was called a Reform Party. So that was the PFP, and the PFP essentially, to kind of give you to shape who Elon Musk's dad was. So the PFP rejected the 1983's constitution, because the 1983's constitution of South Africa was basically saying, reaffirming that Black and people of color in South Africa were not going to have appropriate representation. So the PFP rejected that and said, no, we're not going to accept this because this is not fair. Elon Musk's dad left the PFP because of that decision. So this is who he is. He's not a person who at all is okay with indigenous people, with people of color having their rights. This is who he is. In 1986, he acquired the rights to emerald mines and was quoted in a magazine saying that if you registered it, and registering basically referring to like if his basically if the mine was sort of up to code, to be monitored by the government. If you registered it, you would wind up with nothing because the blacks would take everything from you. Now, again, this is the language of colonizer. This is the language of somebody who wants to take the things from the indigenous population of wherever they find themselves, wherever they find themselves colonizing. And who do those mineral rights belong to? They belong to the indigenous people of that country. So if we go over here, Elon's mom, Maine Musk. When Musk became an American citizen, she registered as a Democrat. However, after unnamed Democrats allegedly said that her son Elon is terrible, she thought the party was malicious and dishonest and changed to Republican. In October 2024, Musk made a post
Your
on X.
son sucks. Like, man, I'm out of here.
Yep.
That's literally what happened.
So they made a post on X recommending Republican voters should commit fraud during the 2024 United States presidential election by voting under false names multiple times, perpetuating that Democrats were already doing so using illegals. She gave no evidence that illegals are voting. Musk was cautioned by lawyers that her post constituted a criminal act and that she could be legally prosecuted for criminal conspiracy if anyone followed her recommendations. She then said readers should ignore the post. That's Elon's mom. Her profession is to be a dietitian. I don't come here to like make fun of how people look, but if you just look up what she looks like an evil stepmother. Like
she is on the scary thumb for this, so you can just look at that.
Looking at the thumbnail, that Nico, man. All right. So there's the grandma, Winfred Josephine Wynn. I didn't really find anything at all about them. Nothing noteworthy. But we have granddad.
She was a woman of a certain age. They didn't talk about the women.
Very true. Mm-hmm. Joshua Norman Hellman moved to South Africa when apartheid started and ran for president of Canada. And during that time, he expressed his support for apartheid. So Joshua was a technocrat in Canada. They were very fervent in their support for a technocracy. He received a lot of criticism at the time because a lot of people mixed up technocracy and communism together, because they sort of were in a technocracy promoting not a welfare state, but a state where sort of I'm using this carefully because this is not what it actually means, where sort of people on a baseline were equal, but what changed the people's ability to sort of advance within the class society in a technocracy is the ability to procure, make, utilize technology. So who are the kind of people who are going to be able to do that? The capitalists. It's essentially capitalism with a different name, a little bit with some fascist tendencies. He basically believed in this idea that a technocracy should extend from all the way from Alaska through Canada down to South and Central America, essentially advocating for like a continental government system similar to the USSR and the European Union. This guy was super into apartheid. Like that was his deal. And that's why he moved his family there. So Here's the thing too. So Halman and not Earl had beef. If you go through a lot of these articles and these documents, Elon's dad really did not like his grandpa on the mom's side, obviously. So Earl would say that Hellman was a Nazi sympathizer. He would later claim apartheid South Africa was the leading white Christian civilization against the international conspiracy of Jewish bankers and the hordes of colored people he claimed they control. Again, this is Elon's granddaddy. Earl Musk said that his wife's family, they were
Ivan's
no,
stuff.
we're not clipping Ivan. No. Earl Musk said of his wife's family, they were very fanatical in favor of apartheid. May's parents came to South Africa from Canada because they sympathized with the Afrikaner government. They used to support Hitler and all that sort of stuff. So, what I'm saying here, my point is, if Elon's dad, who was against giving rights to the indigenous population of South Africa, is saying that this dude is Joshua is bad, they're all bad. It's literally the Spider-Man meme of Nazis pointing at each other and being like, no, you're bad. In Elon's book that came out, I think 2 or 3 years ago, Elon actually referred to oh man, I might be messing this up. I think he referred to his own dad as the most evil man he ever met. So if Elon is saying that about his dad and his dad is saying that about his grandpa, there's no chance in this scenario that Elon was ever not going to be a white supremacist. And Elon Musk is a white supremacist. And I'm sure, as we continue, you'll see a little bit about that. But that was my job for the day, to kind of outline where these people came from. They all came from either England or Canada. The grandparents through and through supported apartheid South Africa, supported the oppression of Black Africans and the plundering of their country.
And they were the Canadians were German Dutch, like they were considered Pennsylvania Dutch or something like that. Like they were considered, so they were like Germans. I just wanted to mention too, one of the things that Errol said about his father-in-law was that they moved because they really loved the sound of apartheid. That's why they moved to South Africa. They thought it sounded good. And there's times where like Errol is saying like, oh, my kids were, we were against apartheid. Like he got into the government in 1972, and his kids saw like, would ask him questions about, the poor Black people, you know what I mean? Like, so he has said like, there's these weird, I feel there's like just outright lying going on between the father and Elon about what was going on, because Errol will be like, Elon's like, there was no mines. There were mines. And Errol will be like, Elon was there with me at the mine. Like Elon was in the mine, like in the 80s. So he wasn't.
But there were no mines.
Yeah, but there was no mines, and they just go back and forth on so much. It's so funny because and the paying for the school, Elon claims he paid his way through school, but he went to school in Pennsylvania, so he would have to have a student visa. And they're not going to allow you just to like say, oh, I'm just going to work my way through school. That's not how a student visa works. You have to have financial backing from someone. So his father was, putting up the money for his school, no matter what. Whether Elon, did, I know Elon worked for like a year on a farm up in Canada or something like that. He left there because he was going to be forced into the army. And he claims that he wouldn't want to fight, on the bad side of apartheid. But no, I mean, he left, like, there's no way that it was that. He was afraid to, like, get in the fight and stuff. I'm not buying that he left because of not wanting to fight in the army. I mean, not wanting to fight in the army, but not wanting to fight on the side of apartheid. Like, I don't buy that part.
And I want to add too. And the only reason why I didn't bring it up earlier was because I was having one of those moments where I'm like, wait a minute, am I messing up my places I want to talk about? But so like, kind of bring this back around, like why this is relevant besides about what's going on in the United States. The South African apartheid, one of the staunch people who was fighting for the liberation of the indigenous population of South Africa was Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela, not only being working for the ANC, was a socialist, was I would say was a communist, of their own variety, and spent years in prison in order to, as punishment for trying to advocate for the freedom of his people. And he's somebody that till today, many communists and political activists all over the world still look towards. The other thing I wanted to mention too was so when we hear today, when people like Elon, who just I think a couple months ago had made a comment about the farmers in South Africa. So when they're referring to the farmers, they're saying that the current indigenous population of South Africa today is they're oppressing farmers or taking away farmers' land and stuff like that. Now, they're intentionally saying it like this because they're trying to sell you the idea that the farmer in South Africa is just like Farmer Joe with like a chicken coop and his wife and then a bunch of people to show up and take all his stuff and his kids and whatever. No. In this case, when they're referring to farmers, they are talking about capitalists. They're talking about multi-millionaire, billionaire people who owned vast swaths and acres, miles of land, who then use underpaid, essentially slaves, to work these fields for them to make money. So when you also hear rhetoric from modern day South African, communists talking about not doing such nice things to the farmers, they're referring to specifically these, like essentially Monsanto in the United States, these massive corporations. They're not talking about Farmer Joe. So I just wanted to add that before we get into our next round of business.
Yeah.
The next round of business.
All right. So who's going? Do you want to go, Cruz?
Is it my turn?
I don't know. I kind of have a little history.
I think it makes more sense for Lumpy to go first.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Lumpy.
All right.
Don't resent me.
I won. No. All right. So anyhow, Ivan goes last weekend. Hey, let's do a show on South Africa and Elon because of what happened last week with them taking away funding and stuff like that. So I go and I Google, what would I want to talk about on this? And I come up and I just Google that, and an article comes up in New York Times in 2022, in May of 2022. So this is right when Elon's buying Twitter. So I'm assuming this is right when the media is kind of turning on him, because it was right around there. Elon was already getting upset because he wasn't getting what he wanted from Biden. Biden wasn't working with him all the time or giving him all the money he wanted. So he was already kind of turning. And this is like he's turning now, Ivan brought up how his mother turned, so that was all happening there. But as I read the piece, because I'm like, oh, this would be a turn, there is still so much fluff in it. Like, this is New York Times. So I'm talking about the centrist, like New York Times and Washington Post, probably in CNN and MSNBC, you would have seen worse. And I was like, well, you know what? I still maybe I'll talk about the rise through media, and I can mirror that with Trump's rise because it's pretty similar. I mean, Trump had a longer rise, but it's pretty similar. And as I was doing that, I go back into the Trump days, and I'm like, when I'm sitting in my head, when do I first remember Trump? Because I was alive in the 80s. So when do I remember? And I was like, it's got to be the late 80s, maybe early 90s at the latest, but it was definitely through Oprah. It wasn't that I watched Oprah, but people were talking about it. You got to understand, we didn't have a million channels. We
Back in my day,
we had very little shows.
We used to want Oprah
We
used to come in the mail.
They do this to me all the time because I. So anyhow, so I go and I'm like, all right. So it was 1988 when like Trump was on Oprah. This is probably not his first time being on there, but this is the one that comes up when you search like Oprah Trump. It's gonna come up to the one where she's asking him, do you think you'll run for president one day in 1988? Because they're just talking about the horrendous Democratic, like they have Dukakis, because this is like in April too. So they're still in the primary. So it's Dukakis, Jesse Jackson, and Al Gore running in the primary. And they're talking about how bad these candidates are. And so, Trump goes, well, I wasn't really thinking of it, but like this is how it would be. And then I'm like remembering, I'm like, wait a sec. I remember because of, Ross Perot running in 92, there was this big talk back then, like coming out of Reagan era. We need a CEO for the country. We need to run the country with a CEO. And I'm going to say, like, I looked into Perot because of that, and I was like, no. But, like for a split second, I was like, well, maybe, I don't know, because I didn't really understand the difference of the economics yet of, a communist economics and a capitalist economics. So, right. I was ignorant to that. So I'm like, all right. So then they're talking about this, and this is where this conversation kind of, I'm sure it was there before, but, like Oprah's bringing it into the mainstream by saying this to, asking this of Trump. And then I recall that, lately in people have been talking about this guy, Curtis Yarvin. And Curtis Yarvin is he's one half. There's this other guy, Nick Land, who is a philosopher who created this dark enlightenment. So dark enlightenment is... Oh, Elon has mentioned it. It was something Steve Bannon, like that's probably where I first kind of heard of it. It was like kind of surrounding with Steve Bannon bringing it up a couple of years ago or something. And I didn't really pay attention because I just thought it was like a libertarian offshoot, whatever. And it basically, the guy this Curtis Yarvin was a libertarian, and now he's like, no, not a libertarian.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. I'm sorry to cut you off because I just decided to Google dark enlightenment. And the first thing I got is also called neo-reactionary movement.
Yes,
also
it's a neo-reaction.
Okay, so we're talking about
It's neo-fascist, it's neo-react. So they call themselves neo-reactionaries. There was this group of bloggers that came out in the early 2000s, and they were neo-reactionaries, and
they're proud of that.
Curtis Yarvin went by the name Mencius Moldbug. And he wrote his Dark Enlightenment. And basically, I listened to a couple of interviews with him. He doesn't think U.S. is right for it right now. He does not like Trump. He does not like Trump. He does not think. So he talks about an absolute monarch and a ceremonial monarch. So one of the things I was watching was in Britain, and he's like, well, your King Charles is a ceremonial monarch, right? So I would think that Trump and Biden are ceremonial monarchs, right? He named a couple of leaders. I didn't really catch them, but he was naming a couple of people that have been leaders that he would say were absolute monarchs. Two of those people that he named was Mao and Stalin. That they were absolute monarchs, and that FDR was an absolute monarch, and FDR's best friend was Stalin.
Well,
I mean, he was the same, and FDR, like it's kind of funny, like how he views FDR. He thinks FDR was an absolute monarch. FDR chose Truman because FDR wanted to be the best, like the greatest of all time. So he just chose this chump Truman.
I just can't like get over the idea that anyone would openly call themselves a neo-reactionary, especially as a Marxist, especially as people who partake and believe in dialectical materialism.
Yeah.
So like that to me just doesn't make any sense like whatsoever. But I digress. I don't mean to take away from what you have to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know why Cruz
I don't know.
down.
I put him down because I don't know what he's doing. All right, there you go.
And then yeah. So, but his sense. So this is what he said. He goes, "Well, some of the other absolute monarchs are like where we got the iPhone," and I'm like, "Where the?" Well, I knew where he was going with it, but like, where is he going with the iPhone?
Yeah,
and I find this very interesting because they always use iPhone on communists all the time. So,
No
Steve Jobs would have been an absolute monarch. In absolute monarchy is a CEO who can do whatever he wants, and that's where things come from. We wouldn't get things if it wasn't for absolute monarchy. But we wouldn't have the iPhone.
Correct.
Sure.
Like
I just want someone to take a screenshot of me holding the iPhone like this.
So yeah, so there was a whole thing like, so what they want. I was first thinking that they wanted fewer countries. No. They want hundreds more. They want like maybe thousands of countries, and each of those countries would be a corporation, and everyone that lived there was ruled by the CEO of that.
It's just a bunch of company countries.
Yeah, but a lot more. Like you wouldn't just have the 190 plus we have now. We
really
have over
really taking to heart the merger of corporate and state power. You know.
Yeah.
This cat is just like
the cat's going bananas, bro.
I don't know what's going on. Cat said, "You're my Valentine. Pay attention to me."
And they claim they can't be fascist because fascism is anti-capitalist.
Okay.
They. What else do I have on this guy? Let's see.
This cat wants food. Give me 2 seconds. I will be right back, everybody.
Oh yeah, like anytime we're using progressive, that means communism. Like so he's one of the ones putting that stuff out there. Like progressives are communists is basically what he's saying. And that like Trump isn't competent enough to be this, absolute monarch.
I'm not gonna put it up, but do you see this goofball ass comment down there?
Oh God. But yeah, so anyhow, yeah, so like as I was going through all this, and he did bring up Elon in both interviews that I watched. So he really likes Elon. He didn't have nice things to say about Trump. One of the things he says, like he wants Julius Caesars. Like these are they have to be Julius Caesars, and Julius Caesar was an Olympian. He was fit and in power and just an Olympian, and Trump is on Ozempic, so he can't be this absolute monarch because he's on Ozempic.
They all are on Ozempic.
Yeah.
You think those cats don't eat?
Good googly moogly.
Yeah. So basically, that is where Elon's mind is at. Probably not Trump, because the guy doesn't like Trump. Bannon liked this guy. Peter Thiel likes this guy. Yeah, it's all that. It is all just like, it's exactly what Mussolini wanted. Like he just wanted corporations to like take over. So I don't know.
Ultra cream.
You're like, oh, finally, the state of Boeing.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So we got the Elon origins. We got the Elon political nonsense. So Cruz, what has Elon done within the last 4 weeks?
So as I was looking it up, one of the things is like I had a vague idea of what was going on I'd seen a bunch of news articles, and I just kept digging and digging and digging, and I was just like, oh fuck, it's worse than I thought it was.
Yeah.
So first, it all starts with the executive order, which the official name of this executive order is fuck that up. Establishing and implementing the President's Department of Government Efficiency, otherwise known as DOGE.
Doge.
And the beauty of it is if you go to the Doge website, it is literally the damn Doge meme. It's the Doge coin. Not only does
Ain't
it
no
have...
way, really? I'm going to look it up right now.
Hold on. I sent, if you go to the where we were putting all the stuff, it's quite literally that.
I'm going to look right now.
And you can pull it up on the screen.
Oh my God, bro.
Yeah, put it up on the screen. Please put it on the screen.
I am, but I thought, oh my goodness.
No.
This is so goofy, bro, that I didn't realize what this was. I thought you were memeing.
No, that is an official government site.
What is going on? Look at this. What?
Yeah.
Yep.
And on the sidebar, if you look, it's got like how to invest in Dogecoin, all the different stuff that's been happening on there. It's fucking dumb.
This is
cannot
the
oh my God!
Look at the talking about earlier with him in all black in the in the Oval Office. So Cruz, keep talking. I'm gonna scroll.
This is they love their 4-letter acronyms. And when they take over government offices, but basically, so this established the Department of Government Efficiency and utilizes a 1962 law that establishes special government employees. So Musk and a bunch of his people are considered special government employees. And all that really means is they can take power without having to go through the red tape, at least for 130 days.
Yeah.
And they can kind of do whatever they want. So
I have a question, Cruz.
Yeah, what's that?
Is Big Balls really, did he get fired or not? Like, did they save his job?
I don't remember seeing that in there. I know a lot of people quit, like in the mess of all this. I'm just like, I don't fucking know who's doing what. But so basically, Doge is actually replacing a government agency that already exists. The government agency is the United States Digital Service, and that was started in 2014 by Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Cringe.
And the entire purpose of that agency is to essentially modernize government and get it with the technological stuff. That was the whole purpose of it. So they took that. They said, okay, well, now it's Doge. It is the federal technology and software to maximize government efficiency and productivity. So what they've done is started organizing the government to where there are Doge officers that are all special government employees and can be placed within any agency, because Doge also has the power to cut federal spending. That's the main priority of it. And I took some notes. Let's see. So far, according to the Doge X account, they have cut, around $1 billion in DEI related contracts across 30 different agencies. They intend on eliminating entire agencies. So stuff like the Department of Education is one of the big ones they want to get rid of, along with various others. And this also includes government contracts. So a lot of government contracts associated with LGBTQIA groups, DEI, anything that deemed DEI. And in the case of Elon Musk, one of the most important ones is contracts with NASA.
Mm-hmm.
They have been terminating basically SpaceX's rivals in all of their contracts. So what Elon is effectively doing is utilizing the government and his newfound powers to put in his own people to all of these agencies, eliminating the ones that he doesn't like, and then eliminating contracts that directly compete with SpaceX and Tesla.
Before you go on real quick, just because there's a couple people in the chat who aren't normally around here, please subscribe, hit the bell. We do this once a week. We have our other channels on our front page, Collective Live, where you can see old episodes of Collective. We have Collective Gaming, where we just like to dick around and play video games. Follow us on Twitter, our Patreon, and Cash App. Thank you very much. Go on.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the funniest ones that I had seen, it has already been rescinded, and they're not doing this contract. It is a $400 million contract to have the government buy armored Teslas.
Yeah.
I saw that.
So I'm just imagining Cybertrucks with like literal like bulletproof plating on the side. They already don't work. So like,
I mean, I don't think it would even happen, because as our vets in our circles can attest to, things like the Humvee are like really poorly armored against anything.
Poorly armored. They're literal death traps.
Yeah. So like, and they're not going to give everyone MRAPs. It's way too expensive. But anyway.
So I will say the scariest agency that he managed to get control of, at least briefly, I saw a report like a few hours ago that said he has been pushed out, was the Department of Treasury.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Via Doge, he has said he wants to put the United States on the blockchain as one big thing. But basically, it gave Musk access to all payment information and tax-related information of the country. So obviously, to further eliminate whatever contracts he doesn't like, have complete. He basically, for a brief amount of time, had complete control of the U.S. dollar. And while he himself is out, there's a guy named Tom Kraus, who is, again, a special government employee and currently the CEO of Cloud Software Group. And he will not be dropping down from that. Has control of the Treasury and direct control over the economy. A lot of people have been put on leave already, if not outright eliminated from the federal government.
Yeah.
And the whole point of this is obviously to put, privatization. It's to put more economic control in the private sector that Elon Musk is setting himself to have direct control over.
Yeah. Yeah.
According to the executive order, the Doge agency is supposed to effectively terminate on July 4th, 2026. However, it is not to be interpreted to imply the termination, attenuation, or amendment of any other authority or provision of this order. So basically, nothing will replace it. But Doge in name will be gone. Supposedly, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. And all agencies are to have 4 employees become Doge officers to follow the agenda. And I think it's like human resources, an attorney, an engineer, and a team lead. So basically, they made a political organization called Doge. They're assigning people to be Doge agents, and they're going to assign them to any agency that is left standing to maintain control over said agencies.
I saw.
And their jobs, do those go away? Like after, or is this to like put them in place for after?
So a special government employee is supposed to only have a job for 130 days. However, that can be changed. The law can be amended, especially if they have complete control and they're putting Doge agents in every agency. That law can be changed quite easily. And anyone that disagrees, guess what? We're going to cut funding.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's been set up. There was one other weird thing. I can't remember what it was.
That's all good.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact terminology. One other thing before you go on, Ivan. I've had a lot of people that I've talked to about this. The common thing I get is, well, it's being challenged legally. It's being challenged legally. The Supreme Court probably won't allow it to go on forever, and say, well, it's happening right now. The damage is going to be done. And if this thing is legally in place for 18 months, the court system takes longer than 18 months typically. Like there's no undoing it other than the government, like the Supreme Court might, in a show of like political theater, go, that wasn't good.
But
No,
how
do
long
that.
does it take for the Supreme Court to do a ruling too? Like they don't.
Years.
It's not like it's not like they do it in 24 hours. And the Democrats are already saying like I watched a video of a Massachusetts Democrat being asked the question about what they're doing, and the response was like a circular, like boxed response that they were all given to say. He wasn't addressing the woman directly on it. And so, he brings up, well, in 18 months, we'll be able to vote. And, that's our plan.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's their plan. Their plan is for until, 2 years from now. That's their plan.
Yeah, exactly. And it just goes to show you again that the liberals have no actual desire or safeguards in place to prevent any of this from happening, because what the Republicans have always been good at doing is doing whatever they want. And if the Democrats gave a single microdium of a shit about anybody, they would have just done these things. When we talk about Gaza, for example, when we talk about how student debt relief, when we talk about universal health care, the Democrats have always said, well, we have to do things legally, we have to go through a vote and da da da. But turns out you can just do whatever you want if you're hurting people, and nobody's there to stop them.
Okay, I found the part of the executive order that I was looking for.
Okay,
so it's section 4, subsection C. This executive order displaces all prior executive orders and regulations insofar as they are subject to direct presidential amendment that might serve as a barrier to providing USDS access to agency records and systems as described above. So any agency that's like, no, we're not going to give you access, the president can just go, yes, you are. Yeah, that's where we're at.
I was talking to somebody in Facebook, and they were talking about Doge, and they were like, I was just like, we live in the stupidest timeline, and they were like, they're gonna make a Gestapo called Dat Boy, and I'm like, you know what? Probably
exactly what's gonna happen. It's all gonna be meme based, and it's gonna be outdated memes. That's the worst. I think that's objectively the worst part. It's outdated memes.
Yeah, nothing new. They're not gonna come up with anything creative.
The new brown shirts would be called like the Trollolo Brigade or some bullshit like that. Like, brother, this is 15 years old. Like, oh my goodness.
I'm gonna get clapped by Rage Comics.
It's the worst way to die.
It's gonna have a 9 gag logo on the bottom.
But do you see how that ties into the crap I was talking about? The Dark Enlightenment?
Yeah.
Like now, like trying to give Trump more and more power. Yep. And, every time, like even when Biden was passing things to give more power to the president, like that, like we all kind of knew Trump was coming up again. You know what I mean? Like there was a decent chance, and you just, every time the Democrats do try to get power, they don't do it in a way that would, preclude a fascist, an outright fascist from having that power. So,
and all of this is going to happen extremely rapidly. One of the most notable examples that most people know about from the 30s, it took 53 days.
Yeah,
like we're rapidly on that timeline.
How many days are we in now?
What has it been? It hasn't even been 30 days yet.
Well, yeah, it hasn't been 30
It
days.
certainly feels like it.
It's not even been 30 days.
Feels a lot more. It's been 14 plus 11. So, oh my God, 25 days.
Yeah,
we're halfway there. I'm still waiting to see what happens March 1st with the tariffs.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. But kind of not to diverge too far, but not only do the liberals not have the ability to fight at all in terms of legally, or I'm sorry, in terms of people who are in the government, even people outside of the government. So like we've been seeing these on Reddit, on Twitter, on TikTok, the what was the 50 protests, the 50 states, 50 capitals protests. The liberals are all going to gather and protest against fascism. And you saw a lot of things that I had a lot of problems with because of that. namely the idea that we can peacefully protest fascism away. Now, here at Collective, we would never advocate for anything that wasn't peaceful and strictly legal. This is a meme. This is a joke. This is fun. Ha ha ha. Right.
If the government can meme, so can we.
Exactly. So, that'd be a good shirt, buddy. Let's write that down for the merch coming.
Little cruisism.
Yeah, little cruisisms. A book of cruisisms would be a great.
That would
right,
actually be great. I need some. All right, Bumpy, start recording all the bullshit I say.
Okay. So
we do that.
Same, please.
Okay.
Okay. So, fuck. Right. So, like, I seen all these posters and these memes, and they're like, we have the protest, at the 50 states, whatever. And then nothing happened, and it's like, wow, no shit, nothing happened. Because if you protesting, picketing, they don't care when they're in the office. They really don't care. If you're in your little section, holding your signs and taking your pictures, it does not make a difference. Mm-hmm. If we had one of the largest, if not the largest protest ever happened last November, or the November before that, and nothing changed, what makes you think that that's going to change? Now, I'm not saying that there isn't anything you can do. I'm saying that those methods historically don't work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be prepared for more, and you got to look for things like a friend of mine sent me, like, every couple of years the general strike protest thing will pop up, and every single time it's got an end date, and I'm like, this isn't going to do anything. No one's leading it, and there's an end date. You can't put an end date to a strike. It ends when the goal is achieved.
Exactly. If you're striking for a new contract, right, which will probably never happen again in many places, you strike until you win.
So many people are afraid to be uncomfortable. And it's not even like we're asking people to be that uncomfortable. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're so afraid of it. They think, I don't know. Like, it's not that hard. You have to be a little uncomfortable, because things are just going to get worse and they're going to get even more uncomfortable for you if you don't deal with it now,
Absolutely. And I think that's the main thing that most people don't understand, that all these things that we have right now are frivolous and temporary. Fascism is here. Your life is going to get worse. What are you going to do about it? And I'm not
You're
just
saying
be
uncomfortable.
I'm saying just to the so-called communists. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. I had a troll.
We know what we're doing, but
I had a troll on Twitter tell me that now that RFK Jr. is in office, he will cure me. I'm like, the dude doesn't have a medical degree. Like, I am afraid for the disabled community. I truly am afraid, because we're the community that like, and I'm not as much for me. Like, there are people that, have a, I know I'm disabled, but like, I have safety nets. But there are a lot of people who are disabled that don't have much and don't have it. And yeah, I mean, they were some of the first people that got hit, and, after the communists, it was the disabled rounded up. So I don't know.
In the comments, I see mention of the Montgomery bus boycott. And it says lasted for a year. It actually lasted more than a year, 18 months to be specific.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It takes a while, but you do some damage.
But again, it was a coordinated effort, not just we're handing out flyers and being like, all right, everybody, just do your thing. This is a decentralized group, Yeah. I remember I saw on Reddit, again, referring to the 50 states of the protesting, it was like, it was someone commenting, I love how this is decentralized and there's no rules and egos. And I'm like, damn, bro, you guys are cooked. Because
it's over before it even started. The second they said decentralized, I'm like, okay, well, then nothing's gonna fucking happen.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I know we've kind of we steered away from Elon, but these things are all connected, very much so. Elon Musk is the definition of a fascist, and the definition of somebody who is from the technocrat corporate side of things merging into the political state. That is what fascism is. That is how I've always referred to it, as the merging of state and corporate power in order to prevent, or at least the illusion of, the decay of fascism. But like most things, fascism will inevitably fall apart and collapse in on itself, but it does not happen on its own. It needs to be destroyed. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And there's no instant gratification. People
Any
also
last-
want. No, I was
No,
just saying
sorry.
people also want instant gratification, and that's not going to happen either. It's work. It's going to be work, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and we all have to just realize that.
Yes, sir. Oh, any last words on this Valentine's Day?
Did you see the asteroids coming? Maybe that'll take care
No,
of
and I'm not even going to worry about it, because if it happens, it happens. There's nothing I can do. I think.
What can we do to make the odds higher?
Increase.
Like, can we increase?
Now that I can get behind. If Elon Musk wants to put boosters on that fuck, let it ride.
It's like, let's get it. Let's light this candle.
Yep. Exactly. Subscribe to Collective TV to see these lives every Friday, our video essays. Subscribe to Collective Live to find our old episodes. And subscribe to Collective Gaming if you want to see something silly. We also now have a Patreon where our exclusive episode is up on there, because YouTube won't let us do that here anymore. And if you want to donate anything else, please donate to Collective Cash App. We are collecting funds to start our second documentary, hopefully sooner rather than later. I like how I'm ending the show and more people are coming in, but you're just going to have to rewind and watch this.
Be kind, rewind.
Yes.
All right, gang.